and welcome to another episode of A Rockstar Take On. And today we have an episode on infinity. So, uh, one of the reasons that infinity came to mind the last time I made a video in this series. So I usually like take a new a topic based on anything that came up during the filming of the video, or anything that's on top of my mind. So infinity came up because I learned something about the concept of infinity. About the concept of infinity, there was like I never thought about it that way, and I was like blown away. So the thing I learned was that basically I learned two things. One is that infinity can only be um, uh, applied to things that are not material, that are not in the 3D. You know, like forever is only the things that are forever are only the things that are not subject to the laws of Earth, the laws of the 3D. And yet, we apply in our society, we apply infinity to the day-to-day things, the 3D things. It just, the way we treat the Earth and the way we use resources. It is as if they are infinite, when of course they're not, because they're resources. They're from the Earth. They're in the 3D, so they're not infinite. And at the same time, there's very little attention, there's very little space or awareness around the things that are not in the 3D and that would actually be infinite. Infinite consciousness is, the infinite possibilities, infinite timelines. So what is infinite, there are things that are infinite, but you have to know where to look. And then it's important that you realize, okay, these are the things that are infinite, and these are the things that are under law of the 3D and that are not infinite. So that was the first thing that I realized, like, this is really interesting, and also this is really useful to kind of like catch yourself. Are you thinking about finite things, but treating them like they're infinite? Interesting. And the other one was that there is you can put a label, as in masculine and feminine, to these two uh, um, categories. So the domain of the temporary, the domain of the earth, the cycles of life and death and rebirth, those are feminine themes. And it's very interesting because in the yoga we really learned, like, it's women who should decide about life and death. And I think that's just so incredibly powerful. We know, of course, that women birth new life, but I think it's so beautiful, the idea that the ones who create life are the ones who decides when it gets taken, or when it's enough, or when there's no other option, or whatever. I love that. I'm like, I think it's really, really beautiful. There's definitely like a patriarchal I cannot know what, you know what I mean, aspect to yoga philosophy, that you're like, oh, that's really not, we really don't say that now anymore like that. And it's also that, you know, masculine and feminine are not uh, uh, not finite labels. Um, so we all have the masculine and the feminine in us. So I've already heard it once, at least once, that, you know, it's the women who should decide about life and death, and I always thought that was really powerful. Um, but then I realized, yeah, it really is the the way that the dominant masculine structure of our societies treat what is cyclical and what is finite, and they just pull it into their economic system and treat it as if it is infinite. You know, we're going to build things, we're going to grow, we have a infinite growth, when that is not true. That is, the infinite only applies to the abstract. It only applies to the eternal. It You can have infinite love, for instance. So I think that is a really beautiful way to deal with the concept of infinity, to recognize its abundance and to recognize its its expansive nature. It's a really great label to work with, and it's a really great kind of like a very spiritual thing to work with. But to train yourself to not apply it to the 3D, to not apply it to the aspect of life that is earthly, because that deserves to be cyclical, that deserves to grow and rise and then die and then rebirth. And if you kind of like flatten it into, oh, that's infinite, we're going to round it off to infinite, you know, then it's very harmful, because the aspect that is infinite is its cyclical nature. So to let things rise and fall apart, and to let things be born and decay, and that is what you can have in the 3D infinitely. And in the infinite world, it's still, it is very peaceful. It is very, yeah, it's full of potential. Okay, that was it. I'm under 10 minutes. Great. But we have, of course, infinite time. Time is infinite. Next time, what are we going to do? About time? Let's do time? Is it? Yeah, let's do time. Or timelines. Let's do timelines. In particular, because I'm not really, I think it's such an abstract idea, time. So it will definitely be, you know, I will have to kind of like stretch my mind to infinite possibilities in order to make a video about that. So next time, a rockstar take on time. See you there. Bye.